Hey team. Okay, so I'm just going to turn my volume back up. Alrighty, can you hear me? Hopefully you can. So today what we're going to be doing is some cyanotype mock-ups. And then I'm going to show you, if you're happy with that mock-up, how to turn that image into a negative that you then use when you're making your actual cyanotype. So the very first thing we're going to do is pick an image to edit today. Now, from the other images, I actually selected this little one of some reindeer that I saw out the window when I was up in the north of Sweden. So I thought this would be a nice one to use. So we're just going to right click on that and go open with Photoshop. And so what I'm going to do is just show you, one, how you can edit your image so that you get a feeling of what it looks like when it's a cyanotype. And this could be an interesting way of doing a trial so that you're not actually having to expose an image in the sun all the time, but you can still look at if an image will work as a cyanotype. So I'm going to move myself over here and let's flick back to our instructions. So we're going to do some small adjustments to the image, and then I'll show you how to do it as a mock-up. So this is the image. And now when you think about a cyanotype, the image is actually basically black and white, but then blue. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come over to our layers. So I've got my background layer and I'm going to click on my adjustments panel. And the first thing I'm going to do is turn this image black and white. So when we're editing with this, look at me on my swivel chair. When we're editing this, we know that if an image looks good and works in black and white, it's very likely going to look good and work as a cyanotype. So first we're going to edit this black and white image. So I've just made it black and white and you can see that here. And I'm going to click back on the adjustments and now I'm going to mess around with the curves. So with cyanotypes, the more contrast that you can get is going to make the image when you actually develop it in the sun and then in the water bath come out as best as possible, because we're dealing with a rather temperamental source of the sun being part of the thing that develops our image. And so we want to make sure that it's high contrast, it's black and white, it's bold, it's punchy to get the best possible outcome when we're actually editing it physically with water and the sun. Does that make sense? Love it. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do with my curves, I'm actually probably going to push this a little bit further than I would a normal photo. So see how that's quite contrast. And if we come back to the image, if this was a color image and I was doing this in a way that was for different types of printing, I probably wouldn't edit it in this way. But because this is for cyanotypes, I'm really pushing this image to its limits. So if we turn that back on, as you can see, there's a lot of contrast in this, and that's what we want. So another thing I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to duplicate the background because I want to crop in on this and I want to get rid of some of this black stuff down here. So I'm going to right click on this and duplicate the layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and go Command T. Now it might be Control T on your computer. And I'm just going to pull this and kind of like crop how I want this image to look. So I think I want it, oh, that looks cool. Like this. And then I'm going to hit Return or Enter. Oh, sorry, my nose is so itchy. And so if we have a look at this now, we turn off back to the original image. This is the original image. It's some reindeer in the north of Sweden. I've then cropped it so we get rid of that other dark color down the bottom, and then we've made it black and white and we've really pumped up the contrast there, okay? So I'm going to save this as I go. I'm going to first of all save this as a Photoshop file so we can keep messing around with it and testing things, and then eventually we'll save it as a JPEG. And just make sure that you're doing screenshots as you go. Now, on top of this one, I'm going to add a new layer. This one is going to be called the Cyanotype. Cyanotype trial layer. So in this layer, in a minute, we're actually going to paint the whole layer that blue color of the cyanotype. So to do this, we're going to get the pencil and we're going to click on swatches, and I've already selected the color. This here is probably the truest blue from this swatch that I can find that looks like a cyanotype. And so it's called, oh my God, is it called Pure Blue? What's this one? Pure Blue Violet. Oh my gosh. Okay, so select Pure Blue. That's going to probably be the one that's the closest to cyanotype without you having to mix any colors. And for the sake of your trials, that's fine. So we're going to come back on here and you're going to get your pencil tool and you are just going to paint that pure. You're going to paint the pure blue color on top of this layer. Okay, so now you've got a completely blue layer. And if you flip that on and off, you can see the image below it, right? So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to change the format of the layer here. So see where it says normal, we're going to click on this and we are going to turn it to screen. And so this gives us an indication of what it will look like when we actually develop this image as a cyanotype. So we can see in this, if we turned off the curves, you probably have a bit more blue coming through, which is probably going to be what happens in your cyanotype. But for the actual production of this, we want it to be high contrast. So this is a really good example of like what you could do if you wanted to do a digital trial of a cyanotype, or we could call it a digital cyanotype mock-up. So this would be the process that you go through to determine, yep, I really like how this image looks. I'm actually going to turn it into a negative to then do as a to trial physically for my cyanotype. So that's what we're doing for this part here. So that's the mock-up section. And now we want to turn this image into a negative for printing. So if you get to this point, you're like, I love it. This looks really cool. I think I want to test it out properly using the actual sun-sensitive paper. Then what you can do is you're going to turn off your cyanotype trial layer, and we need to flatten this. So first of all, I would save, actually, I'm going to save that. Save that. Then we're going to turn off the cyanotype trial layer, and we want to select all of these three here. So we'll keep the background there, but we want to select these, and we want to go merge layers. So this means that this piece is now one thing. So we've combined the adjustments that we made on the top with the actual image. And now for the interesting part, we need to turn this into a negative. So a negative is basically just an inverted image so that when the sun hits through it, it exposes the right parts of the image and it covers up the bits that need to stay dark. So basically when we make this into a negative, everything that is black is going to be white and everything that is white is going to be black. And that allows for the image to be produced properly. So what we can do, a shortcut for this is you can click Command or Control A, and it's going to select the whole image. And then you're going to click Command or Control I, and it inverts it. And see how that looks like a film negative? And so what you'll need to do then is save this as a JPEG, and we'll print it onto acetate, like in the video that's on our LMS page. And this is the thing that would go on top of your light sensitive paper, goes out in the sun for a few minutes, and then you put it in a water bath. So this is how you create a negative. So I'm going to show you that one more time. You select all of it. So you can either go edit, or is it image? I just know all of the shortcuts, sorry. It's image and select, edit. How do we do this manually? Select all. I'm really sorry, I don't remember the long way of doing it, but it's basically you just go Command A. So Command A selects all of it, or Control A. And then what you're going to do is go Command I or Control I to make it a negative, which I think would be inverted. So edit, layer. This is so weird. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Miss Winter, she's back in the game. Sorry about this. Sometimes I just know the shortcuts and I forget the long way of doing it. Okay, I'm going to do the long way just briefly as well. So you've got your image, it's flat, you're loving it. You want to turn it into a negative. So you're going to go select all. Done. Then you're going to go select inverse. Oh, I need to select it all. Did it work? It's not working for some reason, so we'll just use the shortcut, which is Command I, and it inverts the image, and that is your negative. Get ready for a celebratory swivel chair dance. Woo! All right, people, that is the tutorial today. So that is how you can create a cyanotype mock-up and also a film negative for your cyanotypes that you can use with sun-sensitive paper. That's it, people. I'll see you next time for another tutorial video. Goodbye.